Welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show. It is officially time for a walk of shame. Again, I'm Anthony Totri, joined by Ralph Amsden on this PHNX Sun Devils postgame show presented by Four Peaks. I know it's still going on, okay? You don't got to let us know in the comments. We don't need score updates. We've got it. Arizona State currently trailing the Oregon Ducks 49-3, and I would throw in that they were trailing Bo Nix in the Oregon Ducks, but they're up so many points that they're actually trailing Ty Thompson in the Oregon Ducks at this point. Ralph, this is kind of like your tweet said, not fun, but what we're going to do is we're going to have fun talking about how not fun it was. For you, at what point in this game, and I feel like I already have an answer, but for you, at what point in this game was it officially over?
14?
14?
14, yeah, because you had to figure, how much damage are we going to be able to do against Oregon? And you figure 2 possessions, 2 touchdowns. They're probably going to have like 10, 11 more possessions. We're going to shut them out 10, 11 in a row. 14 is probably going to become 21, and that's about the time I started spiraling, spiral that we have not left. We are actually mid-spiral right now talking about this.
Yeah, we're just free-falling here, okay? We're doing our best Tom Petty impression. But for me, I think, and I said it before we even got started, it was Oregon receives. They're backed up already on their own 25-yard line. First 2 plays for Arizona State, the defense does their job. They're able to put it in, I believe, 3rd and 11 or 3rd and 12. And I pull out my phone and I get a tweet ready to roll, right? And it quite literally says, you couldn't ask for a better start for the Arizona State defense, forcing a 3-and-out. And I was getting ready to hit send, waiting for 3rd down to ensue. And sure enough, I got ahead of myself. And Bo Nix in the Oregon Duck machine that takes place every single week did exactly what they do, an 18-yard completion. And really, that was the only time it felt like that first 3rd down was the only time like it felt like Arizona State had a chance in this one, similar to some of the other games we've seen from ASU even prior to kickoff. There's an understanding, I think, amongst media and the fan base of like, okay, there's going to be a certain game plan to try and take down a team like Oregon, right? I feel like it's a similar one that a lot of teams had against USC, similar to what teams have against Washington, where going into this game that your offense isn't going to be able to keep up with them, right? That you are going to have to win the time of possession. At some point in the game, you're going to have to get maybe a little bit lucky, and you're just going to have to roll the dice on a couple of possessions. But like you said, when it was 14-0 already pretty early on in the first quarter, at that point you felt like, can ASU really stop this Oregon offense 2 times in a row to even try and make it a game? And the answer to that, as we've seen, is no.
True. Yes. So I like to call Oregon's offense the power dink and dunk, and shout out to ASU for scoring a touchdown. Melquan Stovall.
There we go.
We're
15 yards.
We're coming back.
Hey, if they score again, this might turn into a telethon. We're just gonna keep it rolling to see what the final will be.
Yeah, just a little bit of bubbly on ice. Make sure it's on ice, just in case. You don't want to miss your moment. You don't have to get ready if you stay ready, as they say. But I like to call Oregon's offense the power dink and dunk. And when they did that tight end screen and they had 3 offensive linemen out there at 6'5", 350 pounds, 30 yards down the field, taking out defensive backs, pushing Jordan Clark out past the sidelines, blowing up Ro Torrance 30 yards down the field. Like just the visual of that when they had the end zone camera zoomed in on that run, it was just a perfect illustration of the level of talent and power and discipline we're dealing with on one side versus the physical limitations we have on the other. They are the better team. They have it is not easy in the Pac-12 with all the stylistic differences to go in and beat the teams that you should beat by a score that is convincing. But this Oregon team, I think 35-6 against Stanford, 42-6 against Colorado, 42-6 against Utah.
Yeah.
They have been the hammer to all of the conference's nails all year long. We're in good company right now. This is, to me, the best team in the conference by far. I don't care about the head-to-head. This is our champion. This is who's going to potentially bring $6 million back to the conference for us to fight about in court.
Yeah.
When it comes to deciding who gets to use that money. But no, I genuinely believe we're getting the belt used on us by a genuine college football playoff team right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple comments in the chat. CB, so depressing. Then again, it could be worse. I could be a Chargers fan. LOL. That's crazy. Danny in the chat. At least it's not the worst loss of the season. You bring up some really strong points, Ralph, just in terms of this one for me, and I think for the fan base too, it should feel different than the Utah game, right? The Utah game, for some reason, it felt worse to me just because it felt like all week long there was a lot of discussion in terms of we understand what Utah is as a team, but you almost felt like this team would have been capable, maybe not to keep up, but to make that a little bit of a game. In this one, I think there's an understanding that Oregon is, to your point, one of the best teams in the nation, one of, if not the best team in the conference. Bo Nix has solidified himself as, in my mind, the favorite to be the Heisman winner. Like, this is just a different team. And I think if you were there watching the game, or if you're there out on the field, right, when you are watching these teams warm up, and on one side you have a 3-7 football team, and then on the other you have the number 6 team in the nation that is built like a machine. Like, there's just, like, even watching warmups, you're like, whoa, that's a different breed, right? That's what Arizona State one day hopes to be, like, prays to be. But sometimes you get lucky. In college football, we see parity all the time. This is not an Oregon team that you get lucky against. I think there was, at an early point in the season, I think it was the Stanford game, that they had been shut out in the first quarter, I believe. I believe Stanford was up 6-0 on Oregon for the first quarter of that game. Right. And you're like, wait, is this going to be the craziest upset of the college football season? And then you tune in 20 minutes later and Oregon's thrashing them. They're up 30 points. And that's just what this team does. And that's what Bo Nix does. That's how this team is built. That's what Dan Lanning has brought to Oregon from Georgia. Like, that is their MO. They are not a team that you can really take lightly. They're not a team that you can hope you get lucky against, because they are built to dominate from start to finish. And that's what they did in this one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we didn't even talk about the Cal game, where it was a one-score game in the second quarter, and Oregon won that game by 44. So, like, they're very special, and a lot of it is talent is destiny, right? Talk about some of the people that are on this team. Bo Nix was a 5-star quarterback, one of the two best, along with Spencer Rattler, one of the two best quarterbacks coming out in his class. His backup, Ty Thompson, was a 5-star quarterback. And for people who aren't, like, initiated into the whole ranking system of kids coming out of high school, when 24/7 or when Rivals says that somebody's a 5-star, what they mean is they are one of the best 32 high school players in the country.
Yeah.
And that they believe that they will eventually be a first-round pick. It has nothing to do with, like, how they'll be in college or anything like that. It's a pro projection. When you say somebody's a 5-star, Oregon is filled with 5 stars, like that scouts looked at in high school, and they pointed at them and said, that's an NFL player, right? Yeah. And more often than not, it works out, like more than 50% of the time. Josh Connerly was the number 1 offensive lineman in the country coming out of his class. Bucky Irving was one of the best running backs in the country. Yeah. Jaron Birch was the number 1 linebacker in the country when he was at South Carolina before he transferred over to Oregon. Gary Bryant was another one. They're just loaded, and that's not even talking about Troy Franklin. This is the results that you get when you build up your team with talent, and then you instill discipline and a solid game plan. This is what Arizona State wants to build into. This is the model. This is why Kenny Dillingham was hired. because he had been at Auburn, he had been at Florida State, and he had been at Oregon, and he knows what these teams are built like, how they should function. Now it just comes down to, as this week proved, people donating to Sun Angel Foundation and things like that. Can we support that vision?
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. This is all the motivation you need, being down 49-10 in the fourth.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Right. And I think when Kenny got here and the staff that was brought here, there was a lot of people that I think were maybe a little bit skeptical with what they were hearing about the practices. Right. And I think from my perspective, as somebody who's covered Notre Dame, I see the way these teams, and I've seen the way these teams like practice on a daily basis. And I think that is what Kenny has brought right now. He understands, to your point, the model of how you build a championship caliber team in Florida State, in Oregon. And he's brought the mentality. He's trying to bring the culture. He's trying to bring the work ethic. But what you can't necessarily bring with you in just a 1-year span is the same caliber of players that Oregon has, right? To your point, the Sun Angel Collective and NIL in general is a big part of how you go out there and you get 5 stars, how you get guys that in previous years wouldn't even take a second look at Arizona State because it's not an Alabama, a Georgia, an Oregon, etc. Right? Like even before the era of the transfer portal to what it is now in NIL, like Oregon was only getting so many of these guys. It was SEC and Ohio State and Michigan and Notre Dame. And now I think NIL maybe a little bit, on one hand, has leveled the playing field. But on the other side of it, now it kind of does put it on to donors and the fan base of like, okay, how good do you want this program to be? Because I don't know about you, but I think Kenny Dillingham and the staff, from what we've seen in terms of the getting guys to play week in and week out after having such a crazy up and down season, being able to do what they've done is a success in its own right. And I spoke about it a little bit on the show during the week, like looking at what ASU was able to concoct in a victory against UCLA. Like Kenny's doing everything possible. He's making a 5-course meal with a Lunchable, right? So imagine what he can do in a year, 2-3 seasons with guys that are that same caliber of player, the ones that Oregon gets consistently, that Washington gets now, that USC gets, that Ohio State gets, because you've got the guy. Kenny Dillingham is the man to lead this program to new heights that it hasn't seen in quite some time, but it really is going to be up to the fan base and the donors and I guess really Arizona in terms of activating the Valley to get it to that next level. The game is still going on. It is 49-10 with about 7:30 to play, but I do want to get to by the numbers presented by Desert Financial Credit Union. Of course, the only number that matters at the end of the day is that score, 49-10. I know it's not final yet, but it is still not pretty. In terms of total yards, the Ducks outgaining Arizona State 568-301. In terms of passing yards, Bo Nix shredded this ASU defense today, and he didn't even play the whole game. He threw for 404 yards, I believe, but ASU just with 202. To put that in comparison, as a team, Oregon had 222 yards in the first quarter. Now, in terms of rushing yards, Oregon with $128, the Sun Devils with 99, and then in first downs, Arizona State with 19, and the Oregon Ducks 28. Ralph, is there any number specifically up there or just anything that you've maybe seen in terms of the box score that has stood out to you?
Well, Oregon's passing yards. I think that was maybe one area that fans didn't come into the day thinking this is going to be our biggest vulnerability. I think the expectation for Arizona State coming into today was we're gonna drag Oregon out into the middle of the lake and see if they can swim like we did Washington. We're gonna make Bo Nix's life hard like we did Caleb Williams. I think the expectation was that the effort would really be there on the defensive side of the ball, and the results would follow. I feel like the effort was there. The results are not. And I have to say, for me, this really settles the which great quarterback is going to be our Pac-12 Heisman representative debate. It's Bo Nix. I don't care how many of these yards come after the catch. He is so in tune with the pocket. He makes his offensive line's job easier. This is a brand new offensive line, by the way. All 5 starters were different last year, and he never gets touched back there. He's very, very accurate. He puts his receivers in positions to succeed when they're in one-on-one coverage. He'll still give them an opportunity. He was definitely special, and if I had to judge it based on just Arizona State played alone against Caleb Williams, against Michael Penix, Bo Nix is the guy this year. And you're a Chargers fan. You see a little Drew Brees in there?
Yeah, he's the play style, the swagger that I think he plays with is such a unique thing to see in this era of just college athletics, because he's not showy. He's not the kind of guy that goes out there and he's going to throw for a touchdown and then run to center field, or he's not going to discount double check you. He's not going to do anything that Baker Mayfield does, right? Like, he is a guy that truly goes out there and like his game speaks for himself, but he does have a little bit of like just swag to him. And that, I think, is what is going to be on top of the way that he has turned around his collegiate career, something that helps him not only in maybe this Heisman conversation, but when NFL scouts are calling some of these coaches, or when the NFL draft comes around and they can point to a guy that has progressed, that hasn't necessarily plateaued off, I think that's going to be an important part to maybe where he falls in the NFL draft. I mean, just looking at his stats today, right? We talked about, obviously, the total passing yards, but 24 of 29 in his 5 incompletions all day, right? 404 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, which, just doing quick math here, he had more passing touchdowns today than total incompletions.
That's my favorite stat. My favorite all-time favorite football stat. Love it.
More touchdowns than incompletions?
Yeah, absolutely.
It just goes to show how efficient. He's so efficient, and he is somebody that the thing that's been missing for Arizona State all season long has been the big play, right? It's been the ability to go get chunk yards, to go get that 50-yard touchdown, to go get the 60-yard whatever. And that's something that Bo Nix, when he finds the opportunity to do it, it's on a rope every single time. It's a laser, and he connects with his guy. We saw it how many different times today? Not all of those touchdown passes, mind you, were 50-yard bombs. But when he sees a guy open, he's confident enough in his arm and his playmakers to go out there and do that. And something that you had brought up for a quick second is the offensive line. I think that's probably the biggest thing separating Arizona State and Oregon, and it's probably the biggest thing that separates Oregon from a lot of these teams, is you can go out there and you can have a 5-star quarterback, and he's going to make magic happen at times. But when you're able to have a guy like Bo Nix, when you're able to have a guy behind him like Ty Thompson, and they're able to sit back there and not have to worry about guys disrupting the pocket or having to move. Not to mention, Bo Nix he's got great escapability. Like, if he needed to, he could. He didn't have to do any sort of running today, just 3 carries for 7 yards. But it makes their life so much easier when they have a clean pocket and they can go through their progressions, and they don't have to worry about a defensive line like Arizona State that does like to bring pressure, that does like to mix things up. Like, Bo Nix today, I believe he got sacked 1 time. He sat back there and he did what he did, like what he does. He shreds defenses, Pac-12 and anywhere else. Like, the offensive line is something that needs to change for Arizona State. It's something that is the biggest question mark for me moving forward, because I think there's always going to be guys in the portal that are always going to want, in terms of skill guys, there's always going to be those type of guys that want to change the scenery, that think that Arizona State maybe defensively, even whether that be the edge rushing position or whether that be at wide receiver or running back, that want to go play for some of these schools. But when you're an offensive lineman, especially a highly touted offensive lineman, usually the Pac-12 isn't the first place you look to go play, right? Especially if you are a former 4-star, 5-star guy. You're like, okay, where can I go, like, that is accustomed to having great offensive lines? And right now, in the Pac-12, at least in this final season, you think Utah, you think Oregon. Those are the offensive lines that are the beefiest, if you will, right? Yep. If you're one of those guys, that's where you're going. And I believe Chris Cartman tweeted out earlier today, the number 1 interior offensive line prospect in the transfer portal from Michigan State, was at this game today. And that's the biggest need for Arizona State is offensive linemen. But if you're Kenny, I don't know how you pitch that. And again, maybe that's just I haven't had to try and sell this program to student athletes, and you could try to do it. Like, if you're Kenny, how do you try and outsell Arizona State from an offensive line perspective versus a school like Oregon or even Washington or Utah?
Yeah, I mean, we have guys. We have guys that still live in the Valley that had very successful careers as offensive linemen at Arizona State, like Mike Pollock and Levi Jones. Both high NFL draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Kyle Murphy. You've got all of these different offensive lineman alumni, and then you have all these former offensive linemen like Adam Snyder and guys like that live in the Valley and train offensive linemen. Honestly, like if I'm Kenny Dillingham, unless I know for sure exactly how I want to attack this, I would just build as big of a coalition as I could to make sure that locally and within the recruiting footprint, the reputation of Arizona State is one where we take care of offensive linemen, where we prioritize offensive linemen, where we understand what they might need, where they want to, how they want to play, how they want to be developed. Are there NIL opportunities, business opportunities with the different offensive linemen, training facilities around the Valley? Can we foster some of those types of business relationships?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you can do to set yourselves apart, because what you can't do is do what University of Texas does and say the starting salary for our offensive lineman is $50K.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
you can't do that.
You bring up a really, really solid point in terms of local, right? And I think that's something that Kenny has hounded on since he got this job, is we are going to have Arizona kids are going to have the opportunity to play at Arizona State, right? If you're a talented high school product out of Arizona, there's going to be a home for you at ASU. Now, what you've seen specifically with a handful of recruits is it's like, okay, I can stay home. I could stay home in the state of Arizona, but I could just go down to Tucson. Tucson, like, it's at this point, it's a quicker product. So I think it is going to be a little bit more of a tougher sell. I'm interested to see what happens with Jed Fish in the offseason, because I don't necessarily think he leaves, but I think there are certainly going to be other opportunities for him across the nation with how he has transformed that program in just what feels like a few short years, right? So
yeah,
it's going to be an interesting offseason for not only Arizona State, but just Arizona collegiate sports.
Well, one thing Arizona State does have the ability to point out to, especially to local recruits, is the best path so far for local recruits to stay home and then have an NFL future or a shot at the NFL has actually been the offensive line position.
Yeah.
Casey Tucker, Quinn Bailey, who's the Texas A&M Kellen Diesch.
Yeah.
Kellen Diesch has, bounced around like that position. We've had transfer guys like Christian Westerman, who was also local, Casey Tucker, who was also local, come in, have success, have a shot at the NFL. We've also developed offensive linemen that have come through the program as 3-stars like Quinn Bailey, or a walk-on like Levi Jones, who went 5th overall in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
To be able to point to the fact that, like, hey, the best life for you, the most stability for you is to stick around. If you can at least corner that market, because I mean, local recruiting, you need to get the right recruits, and you need to have those recruits believe that you have a plan for them. Local recruits, they don't care if the local school recruits them. That's the baseline expectation.
Yeah.
They need to know that they have a relationship with you. You have a plan for them, all that type of stuff. So as long as you can keep a good relationship with the recruits locally that you do want, which has been a problem for previous staffs, and you can corner the market on maybe one position. And in Arizona, there's quarterbacks, there's specialists, there's offensive linemen. You seek to corner the market on that. then maybe that's one way you can build for the future. But that, to me, you point out the offensive line is the key to everything that Kenny Dillingham wants to do. Any coach, really, but for Kenny Dillingham to have the success he did in Eugene, he needs the offensive line to keep his quarterback clean. And so, that's going to have to be the major priority if they want to turn this thing around.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And one more point before we get to some of the comments in the chat, right, is I think in the last 2 weeks, specifically against UCLA, everyone's joking, right? Arizona State's running the swinging gate, and they're able to go out there and beat UCLA. But part of the reason you run a scheme like that offensively is because the defense, specifically at UCLA, has such ridiculous high-level pass rushers. And in a way, it's almost saying, hey, we think their pass rush is better than our offensive line, right? And that's, I think that's exactly what it is. That's the truth of it. And that's why you have to run a scheme like that. So, look, I think part of believing in it from a fan base, part of believing in it from a potential student athlete to come play at Arizona State is you were able to beat a team like UCLA, a team with a gazillion guys on that defensive front that can get to the quarterback. And they pretty much did it without having to use their offensive line. So imagine what this offense can be. Imagine what Arizona State can be if they're able to have that, if they're able to go get some guys up front that can truly protect the quarterback, that can create rushing lanes. Like, I think that is probably the most exciting thing, but it's also going to be a difficult selling point, kind of like we talked about earlier. Like I said, I do want to get to some of the comments, but first, I want to give a shout out to our partner Empire. Guys, if you just moved in to maybe a new home, maybe a new apartment, or maybe you're watching the Arizona State game and you just needed to lay on the floor and stare at the ceiling, well, maybe it's time to get some better carpet, some new flooring to make life on the floor a little bit more comfortable. Okay, they got the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. Empire today can't be beat when it comes to quality, service, and speed. They do have it all, and they've got a great deal still running for you guys. Schedule a free in-home estimate today, and all listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use that promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for details. Now, I don't know about you, but if you are done with this game, if you're over it, which I imagine most of the Arizona State fan base probably is, it is a Saturday night. You're probably wondering what comes next. Well, the easy answer, guys, is OGs, okay? Find them at any of your local dispos. It really is the perfect product to forget about what you just witnessed all afternoon. I promise you, you'll forget about it. Give it roughly an hour to kick in, and you'll probably trying to turn on Inception in your house. That's probably what you're going to be doing when you pop in OGs. And look, I don't blame you. They've got a great deal, though, going for you. Get 25% off any OGs product at your neighborhood Zenleaf location from now until November 30th when you place an online order and use our code. Just, guys, trust me when I say make sure you have a bag of OGs at Thanksgiving, and it's going to be the best holiday you've probably ever had. Just head to www.zenleafdispensaries.com, find your closest location, order your favorite OG's gummies for pickup, and enter discount code PHNX to get 25% off at checkout. This deal is exclusive to our PHNX listeners, and a reminder, it's available for online/pickup orders. Discount code PHNX is active until November 30th. A couple comments in the chat I wanted to get to. Will, the issue is now that they're mostly healthy up front, they abandon the run game. Yeah, that's where it becomes a little tough, because we were talking earlier about how it felt over at 14-0. And when you watch how ASU was able to keep it super close and competitive with Washington, it obviously a big part of it was the defense, but they were able to own the time of possession. But when you're down 14-0 right off the rip, you can't really afford to run the ball, especially behind an offensive line that is a little bit still of a makeshift unit. Like, you just really don't have it. It doesn't set you up for success. Not to mention, it doesn't necessarily help that Arizona State, when it comes to the quarterback position, is throwing in 3 different guys that all play different positions. Like, it is a little bit more of a difficult challenge. Look, one of Arizona State's quarterbacks tonight is the guy on our leave a like button, tight end Jalin Conyers, wearing a hockey mask, right? I love Jalin, but he's a tight end, right? He's a tight end. He's a pass catcher, and he hits where you get the most out of a guy like Jalin Conyers or a guy like Cam Skattebo is not with them at quarterback. It's when they have the ball in their hand and they're able to make guys miss, or they're able to lower their shoulder, kind of like Jalin did at one point in the game. It's a
whoa. That looked like a nice old man.
I'm sure he was it was totally accidental, by the way. If you don't know what we're talking about, there was a point in the game where Jalin had gotten kind of forced out of bounds. And I think maybe just instinct, right? When you're about to hit something, he lowers your shoulder. And he barely did it, lowered his shoulder, and it took out a linesman. Not great, but the ref was able to get up. He's okay. But again, going back to the quarterback
Shout out the ref, though. That would have killed me.
Yeah, that was
literally killed both of us.
In the press box, it was like a gasp of like, ooh. That was the only time there was an Arizona State play today where anybody in the press box went, ooh. Like that was the only time.
The man looked old enough to like clearly remember the 1970s, and after he got up, he looked like he was clearly remembering the 1970s. They were shuffling him off the field. It was a bad scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, 270-pound ball carrier, not since Jerome Bettis. This hadn't been done in a while.
He's just look, and there are times when it's like, okay, like they're making throws out there. Cam Skattebo, we started the game. Cam Skattebo, starting quarterback, just heaving it 50 yards downfield to draw defensive pass interference, right? Like they've got the arm, but they're not quarterbacks, right? Like these aren't guys that you stick back there and go through progressions, right? These are guys with designed plays that you know where they're going before you even say hi.
One of my favorite parts of the game was Cam Skattebo throws the interception on the 1 yard line. You know, where he's like off both back feet at the same time, lobs up a duck, and it falls into the hands of, former Hamilton High School, Basha High School star Cole Martin. So another local showing out against ASU. And Cam Skattebo runs over to the sideline, and Kenny Dillingham makes sure to like have that moment where they connect with each other. And I'm just imagining what would Kenny Dillingham even say in that moment? Because it's not worth like lending your quarterback development expertise to a running back who just threw up a duck, right? You just kind of have to be like, Matt, them's the breaks. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's not really any point of like, oh, we're gonna go ahead and try and correct this because look, he's not a quarterback. Like you're not gonna be like, oh, you should have made the right read here, right? Like you have to understand that is the give and take when you throw quote unquote athletes out there, that their number one position isn't quarterback. And I think you've seen it multiple times where these guys, Cam and Jalin, they have plays that are designed for them to play quarterback. Again, they're not going through their progressions. Okay. Kenny's not sitting being like, okay, if this defensive back lines up here, I want you to do this. Or if this guy is running a drag and you see the linebacker up in his face pressing, you're not going to do that. You're just like, okay, EK, just throw it to EK, or roll right, throw it to Troy. Like that's exactly what is going on when you stick those guys back there. The quarterback position is something that is another. I don't want to say a question mark, but it's clearly such a difficult position to kind of critique in this season, based off the amount of injuries that the quarterback position has faced, that the offensive line has faced, that even some of the skill guys have faced, right? But like there was people even in the press box that ASU is down 35-0, and they see Jaden Rashada warming up on the sideline, and I've got people in the media in the press box not necessarily tweeting it, but being like, "Oh, well, what do you got to lose? Throw in Rashada to start the offense." Well,
a lot. The answer is a lot. You have a lot to lose.
You're not I don't know. Maybe this is only an idea that would come off of an entire bag of OGs. But when you are down 35-0 to the number 2 scoring offense in the nation, you're not coming back. And you're certainly like the risk versus reward in throwing in a freshman quarterback recovering from injury who is, quote, only to be used in an emergency situation. This is not an emergency situation. Emergency situation is there's nobody left to play quarterback. That's your emergency situation, not 35-0. The emergency has come and gone.
I get it. My kids think that boredom is an emergency. entertain me. Like
that's what it is, though, right? That's
yeah.
like the emergency has quite literally, it's come, it's passed. No more emergency. Like, you're not gonna be, as much as you want to have faith in the coaching staff and the players, 35-0 against the number 6 team in the nation. I don't know if, and we don't have somebody just able to Google stats for us just at any time, but I can't imagine that a top 10 team has ever lost to an unranked 3-7 team after being up 35-0. I can't imagine that has happened before.
No, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I do not believe that that such an occasion exists.
Look, we do have a final score now, 49-13. Arizona State able to get 10 points there in the fourth quarter after just scoring 3 points through
spin
3.
Zone. They won 2 quarters.
There you go.
We won 2 quarters.
The second half,
even.
The second half was ours.
Right. They won 2 quarters. We won 2 quarters. That's a tie.
Yeah.
We just tied the number 6 team in the country.
3-7-1, baby.
That's right. It was a friendly.
Oh God, Dan Lanning. Well, I don't know what to say, man. I don't know how you tie Arizona State at this point after having a 2-quarter advantage. That's just
disappointing with that roster.
Be better.
Imagine being an Oregon fan right now and what your jerseys actually look like and you have to pretend they're good and that you like the shiny helmets and then you just and you want to go to the college football playoff, but you got that loss to Washington hanging over your head. That's your rival. They beat you. You got to go against the Beavs. They've beat you late. They ruined your season. And you have to walk away from this game knowing that you got out-coached in the third and fourth quarter. That's tough. It's tough to be an Oregon fan tonight. I feel bad for them, but, pack it in, figure it out next week, see if you can get it right.
Not everybody is as blessed as Arizona State fans this evening.
Right. Did you win your last 2 quarters that you played?
Yeah.
Dan Lanning didn't just get out-coached. He got out-coached by his former offensive coordinator.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, the student has become the teacher now. And now Dan Lanning has to go home. He has to remember the tattoo he got in the offseason, and he's probably going to feel bad about himself. If you have not seen it, please Google Dan Lanning tattoo. It is actually a great tattoo, and I like the tattoo enough to where I can't make fun of it. But you should. You should make fun of it.
Look, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Okay? And that's what Arizona State did tonight. They finished those 2 quarters strong. Like you said, Ralph, they ended up winning that second half 13-7 over the Oregon Ducks. So, yeah, Dan Lanning is definitely his
you know what that means? That's 3 scores to 1. So 75% of the scoring belonged to the Sun Devils.
They're just better. I don't know what to tell you. I do want to get to aftertaste here in a second. We got Tony in the chat who's a U of A guy, number 9, coming next week. Look, Arizona, they I think that makes things a little bit saltier. Is year 1 of the rebuild versus year 3, year 4 of Jed Fish, and you can see where that is. But that should also, I feel like, for ASU fans, maybe be a little bit of something that you can look forward to, or that you're like, okay, it is possible, right? It is possible to go from quite literally Arizona, the worst collegiate football program in a 2-year span, to actually being an AP top 25 team that can compete week in and week out. That's the bright spot for ASU fans, is you aren't that. You aren't the worst collegiate football program in the last 2 years. And you have, again, in my personal opinion, the guy to lead this program to that next level, being Kenny Dillingham. So just, again, time heals all wounds. And I think at a certain point, Arizona State will get there, but you got to remember, it is just year 1 of a rebuild, and they just played the number 6 team in the nation, and they were able to win the second half. So that is what I'm taking. We'll get to aftertaste here in a moment, but first I want to tell everybody at home about our friends at Illegal Pete's. Danielle was talking prior to the show saying she wanted to get to Illegal Pete's Tempe location, but Mill was an absolute mess because of the game and everything going on. But you know what's not going to be an absolute mess tomorrow? Mill Ave. So definitely go check out Illegal Pete's Tempe or Tucson locations for the best margs, the best food, and an even better environment. Illegal Pete's, your go-to spot this fall. Stop by for happy hour, 3 p.m. through 8 p.m. every single day at all 12 locations. Illegal Pete's, the go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beer for 28 years. Not to mention, if you were watching this ASU football game, kickoff was at 2. You probably didn't have many happy hours while you were watching the game, but you could have if you were at Illegal Pete's. Now, just because the weather is changing, we're going from fall to winter. We're going to be getting there soon. The sun is still out in Arizona, which means you should have your Shady Rays locked and loaded, ready to go. The very best sunglasses, guys, and you could shop the entire collection at their brand new location, Kierland Commons, a full stop shop for all things Shady Rays. And if you don't love your Shady Rays, you can exchange it for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There is no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. Shady Rays currently in their biggest sale of the year for Black Friday. Don't miss out on the best deal for shades, snow goggles, and prescription sunglasses. Go to shadyrays.com and try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Ralph, it is officially time. It is officially time for the most sus segment on this network. We're getting into aftertaste. So, Ralph, and everybody in the chat, and Danielle as well, what was shoved into your food pipe this afternoon?
Well, foie gras, I guess.
You never disappoint, Ralph.
I don't know about this segment, and I've never been sure about it. I try to play along, but now I don't know. I don't want to get into this, but I got a little homestead out here where I live. We got chickens. We don't have ducks. It has a little bit to do with the behavior of ducks, which everybody should learn about. Ducks are actually bad and wrong.
Really?
And probably shouldn't exist. Yeah. Pretty awful animal. I'll send you some links. Anyway. Yeah, I feel as though they had their way with us, which is a thing that ducks do.
Oh God,
in nature, to
I'm terrified.
Whatever they want.
I'm terrified of these links now.
Yeah. I mean, in incognito mode for sure.
Oh God, Danielle, what about you?
Okay, I'm gonna go in a different direction.
Okay,
this tastes. You know, like when you're playing in Little League. And you just get absolutely demolished. Like the pitcher, looks like he drove himself here. First baseman has a mustache, and you're like 10 years old, and you get beat so bad that your mom takes you to go get ice cream. This kind of tastes like ice cream. Listen, the game wasn't bad. We're not going to talk about it. It's fine. Your mom felt bad for you, so she took you to go get ice cream afterwards.
That's a good one.
Tastes like sweet failure.
Yeah, you go get ice cream and you talk about anything but the game.
That's fair. Okay. This to me, oof. I'm trying to figure out a way to incorporate the taste that I want to incorporate here. This tastes like mayonnaise to me. This tastes like just like a big old spoonful of mayonnaise. And there are people that probably love mayonnaise. I don't. I hate them. I hate mayonnaise. I think they're disgusting. And it's just, I don't like it anywhere near any of my sandwiches or any of my meals at all. But again, some people quite literally have told me when I tell them that I don't like mayonnaise, they ask me if I put ketchup or mustard on sandwiches or any of that. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. That's normal, right? Or I'll dip fries in ketchup or mustard or even ranch. They're like, nah, mayonnaise, it's high caliber stuff. That's the high class condiment that you hope to get to, right? So I didn't need that. I didn't need the mayonnaise shoved into my food pipe. But to some, that is the higher caliber condiment that ASU will hopefully eventually rise to. Maybe one day Arizona State football will rise to the level that mayonnaise is. But right now, we're just ketchup and mustard, Ralph. That's all we are.
That's all we are. I had a little mustard take this week that I caught some blowback for.
Really?
What are your take on it? I'm not a person that has a lot of food takes. I think everybody should be allowed to like what they like.
Yeah.
But yellow mustard's not food. That's not like a food. That's like a melted crayon, right? That's not like the generic bright yellow mustard that only comes on like a McDonald's cheeseburger.
Other than you put on a hot dog.
There's like other mustards for that aren't.
What mustard do you use? Are we talking about what Heinz
talking
makes
about
mustard
yellow-
too, right?
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Like the artificially dyed. Like we
Yeah.
have all just accepted that there's a yellow food. There isn't.
What is mustard?
I would agree. I guess I would agree with that. When you were talking, I was like, no, this is terrible. But then like, no, there are better mustards. Like I love honey mustard on a hot dog.
Honey
I know it's
mustard's
a hot take, but honey mustard on a hot dog is delicious. What's that one? There's like a specific buffalo mustard, like mustard that's from Buffalo that like my uncle's from Buffalo and he imports it and he's like, this is the only thing we're eating. And it's really good. So yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it, Ralph.
Spicy mustard though. I'm not a big spicy mustard guy.
It's not, see, I don't even know what it is. It's just from Buffalo.
What about like a sweet mustard or like a Dijon or something like that? I don't know.
But I don't have any. I enjoy the regular mustard. I feel like I've come to terms with the fact that I don't really care where it comes from. And that's probably on me. I should probably have a better. I should probably care more to understand that there isn't a yellow food. But I like the taste of it. I like the taste of mustard. Am I crazy here for liking?
I'm a big mustard fan, but I agree with Ralph. It's just kind of like at this point, it's just kind of like a yellow food.
Okay, but have you had mustard on watermelon?
Oh boy, I don't know about that
Okay,
one.
okay. Is that like a salt content thing?
That's a take.
Yeah, give it a try. You can use. I mean, again, I'm used to the non-real shit, the Heinz all yellow melted.
But this is what I'm saying.
cream.
There is nothing that you can say to me like, well, you'd be like, have you tried mustard on pancakes? And I'm not going to get grossed out about that because you're already eating like
Mustard.
the melted crayon. Yeah. Like so like at no point am I ever going to be like, oh no, that sounds disgusting because it's already mustard. It's like, yeah, why wouldn't you put it on a watermelon? If you're going to eat that, you might as well like put it on everything, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I understand that logic. I would like to request that. You're going to be here for the Territorial Cup, correct?
I am, yes.
Okay, I'm going to make sure that you have mustard on a slice of watermelon. That is
and
actually,
watermelon this time of year too.
We're doing it on the show.
Just out of season.
It's on the show at the end of the post game. We're just going to have ourselves some watermelon. Maybe we start the show off. If they win, we'll toast to watermelon and mustard. You never know.
Maybe that's the theme of the season.
White watermelon because it's completely out of season. It's been out of season for so long. It's just going to be straight mustard.
Yeah. What it would take to have a ripe watermelon in Arizona in November is about like the same process it takes to like make mustard. Like it's just would not be natural in any way.
I'm going to make it my mission this week then. My mission this week is to find you a ripe watermelon.
Maybe that's it. Maybe you have wrapped up the whole theme of the taste of the season is watermelon and mustard. Except you like it, so
I like it, man. So you're going to say the aftertaste.
Who is the first person? Who is the first person to be like, you know what this delicious slice of watermelon needs? Or was it like a picnic accident?
It's got to be. It definitely wasn't on purpose. It was definitely an accident. Or somebody, like I said earlier, had one too many OGs, and they're like, you know what would fucking taste awesome, dude? They're like, I love watermelon, and I love mustard. Let's try it together. It's like the scene from Friends where, have you seen it where they're having like, I think their Friendsgiving or whatever, and Rachel makes the dessert, and the pages are stuck together on the recipe sheet. So she
skips a page, yeah.
Yeah, so she skips a page and she makes like half a meat pie and then the other half is like some actual dessert. And everybody hates it except Joey. So at the end of it, he's like, what's not to like?
Good.
Yeah. Meat good. Cranberry good. Mustard good. I'm like, that's got to be exactly what it was, right? Mustard watermelon. What do you not like, right? I mean, I know Ralph's not the giant fan of mustard, but I'm gonna die on that hill. We're gonna get to
is yellow mustard the mustard? Because if I like
mustard,
okay, if I like 39 of 40 mustards, I don't think I could be accused of being a mustard hater.
Have you tried 40 different mustards?
But I don't have a problem with any other mustard but the yellow kind.
I didn't know there was that many mustards, dude.
There's a mustard museum somewhere in like Wisconsin.
Change the headline.
Company
review.
team builder. Saul
Jeez.
Bookman.
My
Book
goodness.
it. Company team builder. Mustard Museum. Let's go.
Trip to middle of nowhere, Wisconsin to go to the Mustard Museum.
Holy
I like
hell.
it.
This is what a 36-point loss will do to you.
Oh, that's right. We're talking football.
Yeah, we're talking college football. We got Tina in the chat, who again is another U of A fan, saying, "You're not winning." And I'm here to tell you that we're talking about mustard and watermelon. So I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm winning. So.
Yeah, wait. U of A that won 2 quarters tonight, and we won 2 quarters?
Come on.
How are we different? We're the exact same.
Ralph doesn't miss. Guys, Ralph does not miss one bit. Neither does BetMGM. I know my picks from time to time can miss here or there, but my parlay picks, they're starting off hot. I had the Chargers money line, which is probably going to fail me, and then I had Oregon spread, which I gave out on Friday's show. And right now, Oregon covered. So the first leg of that parlay is set in stone. But if you missed out, make sure you head over to BetMGM Sportsbook app. They still have an amazing deal for you guys, where all you got to do is download that BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com and sign up with code PHNX. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your newly created account and place a wager in the amount of at least $10 at standard odds price, a qualifying bet. And once you have placed a qualifying bet, you're going to receive $200 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your wager. Go ahead and sign up for BetMGM. Use that bonus code, PHNX. Plays your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through BetMGM Sportsbook mobile app of at least $10, and you guys are going to receive that $200 we talked about instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. Go ahead and check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
Ontario.
There we go, Danielle. And not just BetMGM. If you want to maybe take it even another level up, why don't you go ahead and check out Gila River Resorts and Casinos. They're Arizona's biggest and best resorts and casinos. We're here to talk about the $1 million Big Red Showdown going on at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, Wild Horse Pass, and all of their other lovely casinos. Go ahead and sign up for Gila River Resorts and Casinos $1 million Big Red Showdown. Stay in the game and get rewards. It is that easy. Now, shout out everybody that was at Wild Horse Pass yesterday for the Suns watch party. I saw photos. It looked like an absolute blast, not to mention that Suns game was an absolute banger. KD coming up clutch. So be on the lookout. We're definitely going to have plenty more watch parties over at Wild Horse Pass. But in the meantime, visit GilaMillionDollarShowdown.com to get in on the action. For more info on Gila River Resorts and Casinos and all they have to offer, head to playatgila.com. Man, we even got Saul Bookman in the chat just saying done. Just
Man,
saying done.
If you don't, shouldn't you be planning a company outing to a mustard museum right now? Get off the chat.
There we go. There we go. Also, I don't know if everybody saw it, but I want to do this one again. We've got new leave a like lowers, and I just need to see his face again. Can we throw Shane up there one more time? We've managed to put Shane on a leave a like lower, and it's just
wearing a shirt that says, I have disappointed those in life I love most.
That is the absolute greatest thing that as a company we have actually put on any of our broadcasts. So, Shane, if you're watching, we miss you. If you're listening, I miss you as well. And call me, dude. Invite me to Florida. Like, I'm not hurt or anything. You know, I just got to watch these games. It's whatever. But, yeah, Ralph, ASU, like we said, final score, 49-13. I'm curious, moving forward, one game left. At this point, it quite literally is the only game that matters for both the Sun Devils and Arizona State fans. What level of confidence, or I guess, what can you say to maybe inspire some confidence in ASU fans looking forward to next week?
The next quarter we win will be our third in a row. That's how it starts. You just got to win 4 quarters in a row, and that is $1. And $1 is money, and wins are money.
There you go. There you go. I'll take it.
Yeah, man.
Start
I don't
somewhere.
know. You know what I enjoyed? That it looked like everybody had fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want both teams to have fun at this point. I don't know how you feel about the Territorial Cup. I'm not like a big rivalry person.
Mm-hmm.
Day of, embarrass their families, right? Like make it so that like when they talk to their family that night, they don't like look their own fathers in the eye. They do the side hug and they shuffle off to the locker room and then like there's that one Spotify playlist that has like Joni Mitchell on it and they have to break that out and they just sit out on the hood of their car outside the dorm room thinking about life. Like that, I'm all about that on the day of. But for the other 364 days, I don't really care. Yeah. It doesn't bother me that much. How do you feel about it?
About Territorial Cup?
Yeah, like about the rivalry. Like, are you just hate week every week or what?
No, I don't think it's hate week every week. I'll tell you, I was really scratching my head. I didn't know who to root for when Arizona was playing Colorado. That was like, that might have been my Super Bowl because regardless, somebody was going to lose that I didn't like. I think for this season specifically, I think it is, I don't want to say more important than ever, but it is, this one will have a lasting impact. I know Arizona and ASU, they're going to the Big 12 together, whatever, but like, this is the last time the Territorial Cup is going to be a part of the Pac-12 conference. Like, you want to say that you were the last one to win it in the Pac-12, not to mention for ASU having a very different season than Arizona. Arizona likely going to be inside the AP top 15 here going into next week. What sweeter way to roll into the offseason, to pitch to incoming freshmen, to pitch to transfer portal guys. Hey, you know what? We're building something here. They've had a 3-4 year head start with their guy, and we were still able to win that rival. We were still able to embarrass them at Sun Devil Stadium. And if you're a fan, you got to show up, right? If you didn't show up for Oregon, okay. You didn't show up for SC, whatever. You didn't show up for Colorado, okay. This is the Territorial Cup. And I said it to somebody that works at Sports 360 AZ while I was down there, because today it was all Oregon. Let's be real. It was like there might have been more Oregon fans than ASU fans. And that is what it is. It's the number 6 team in the country. At a certain point, you want to get to that level. But when it comes to the Territorial Cup, Arizona State fans should have the edge over Arizona fans. They should be able to fill out that stadium enough to where it feels like a home game. The guys on the seniors on their last game at Sun Devil Stadium in the Pac-12 in a rivalry game should not feel that they are the road team in this one. That's I think, the thing that I get most fired up about when it comes to Territorial Cup week is if you are a fan and all season long you've loved this or you hate this, throw it out the window. It's rivalry week. Like, shit happens. There's so much parity in college football alone, but now you've got a rivalry. Like, who knows what's going to happen? I know Arizona's been playing out of their mind. ASU before this had won 2 of 3, and they did it again. Kenny's doing it with how many guys injured? He's doing it with Lunchable ingredients. Like, who knows? Yeah. Maybe they pull off again, at this point, it would be an upset if they beat Arizona. And that, I'm telling you, would be the sweetest, like, it's a win. It's a win of a season if you beat Arizona, in my mind.
Yeah, it's a win, and it's an act of kindness in a way, because what these are people too. People that root for University of Arizona, like Saul Bookman, they're people too. And what you want to do for them, give them a little gift, out of the goodness of your heart, in the spirit of the holidays. What you want to do is make sure that Jed Fish's last game at University of Arizona is a loss, so that it stings less when he goes to UCLA immediately after the game. You just want to make sure that, like, because if University of Arizona wins, that's going to hurt when he leaves, right? Yeah. Like, that's the last thing they're going to remember about Jed Fish and the 3 years he was there before he goes off to UCLA, wins multiple national championships, and you go back to, like, mediocrity, only going to a bowl, like, once every 7 years or whatever, and you're going to have to think about, oh, man, like, the last thing he did here was win. But if we go in there, we take care of business, they're like, yeah, we don't really like him anyway. He can go to UCLA and win. We don't need him.
We're just doing him a little favor.
Jonathan Smith or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a little favor.
Yeah. So
nothing
like
too crazy.
Yeah. So like, you want to win, and at the same time, you don't want to hurt. You don't want to hurt their feelings. To have their winning coach leave. You want them to be a little bit mad and happy that he walked away because he couldn't beat Arizona State anyway.
Yeah. Tony in the chat. UCLA is a loser job. Well, I hate to break it to you. But that Arizona job was probably below a loser job when that opening came up with Kevin Sumlin and all that lovely stuff that was going on in that program. But I'm not going to give Arizona any more time tonight. Danielle, it's officially closing time. Let's go ahead and get into tonight's takeaways here on Closing Time, starting with a different breed. If you were watching the entirety of that Arizona State game, you saw that the number 6 Oregon Ducks, Bo Nix, Dan Lanning, they're a different breed, okay? What happened this afternoon, get it right, was supposed to happen. Arizona State eventually has the potential to get to that point. The next takeaway, start fast. Right? We joked about it earlier. The first 2 plays of this game for the Arizona State defense, the best 2 plays that they had all afternoon. You have to start fast, whether you get to that Territorial Cup game and you're on offense or you're on defense first. You have to fire on all cylinders from that first whistle. And then finally, guys, the Territorial Cup. Flush everything else that's happened this season. The Territorial Cup is the game that makes or breaks this ASU season for the fans, for the team, and for those seniors. Guys, that is going to do it for this edition of the PHNX Sun Devils Show. If you enjoyed the content, give the show a follow at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow me on social at Anthony_Totri. You can follow the one, the only legend himself at Ralph Amsden. You can follow DJ Danielle at Abraca Danielle. 2 things before we get out of here, guys. Go Devils, and peace.
We all silly like the mayor.